Hello guys, and welcome to the Joy Report, where we get an outsider's view with an insider's clarity. Let's get into it.
The crazy thing about ending birthright citizenship is that this is stolen land. Like, the Europeans, quite literally, trying to get rid of birthright citizenship is crazy because this is a foreign land, technically. Like, this isn't your native land. Your native land is in Europe. Like, the thing is, oh, you're going to end birthright citizenship, so if if your parents aren't citizens, then you're not going to be a citizen if you're born here. Okay, so if you go far back enough, though, the Europeans' descendants weren't born here either. They were in Europe. This is not their land either. The only people native to the land are the Native Americans. The Europeans literally came over here, stole the land from the natives, and then enslaved another group of people. And then once slavery was over, they were like, okay, well, we're going to give birthright citizenship to the children of slaves. And that's all that really matters. Anyone else, we don't need you. And then from there decided, okay, well, you don't need to be in our country. Oh, you can be in our country. Oh, you don't, like, making up these things as if they were the ones who were native to the land in the first place. Like, oh, if your parents weren't born here, then you're not a citizen. Okay, but if your great-great-great-grandparents weren't born here, then technically wouldn't that have been the cutoff? Oh, no, it only matters because it's people who are brown. It's people who are not white at the end of the day. And that's really all it comes down to. So it's just like, we can see what you're doing. But the thing is, Europeans are not native to this land. So we need to figure out something with that too for birthright citizenship. Let's go back and see where we are originating from. Let's do that then.
Let me make one thing real clear. This ain't about injunctions. This is about erasing the 14th Amendment with a smile. We thought the courts were supposed to be the last line of defense, the place where liberty stands tall even when presidents go rogue. But on Friday, in a 6-3 decision straight down party lines, the Supreme Court told us, nah, we good. They let Trump sneak his foot in the door to cancel birthright citizenship. And they dressed it up in legal jargon about equity and injunctions. Oh, but don't get distracted. The real target was always your rights, especially if you was born with brown skin, immigrant parents, or ancestors who came here in chains rather than visas. For a second, it looked like the lower courts might hold the line, right? 3 federal judges had already slapped Trump's executive orders down with nationwide injunctions, telling him loud and clear, you can't just rewrite the Constitution because you feel like it. Immigrant groups were celebrating. 22 states stood up in court. Even the appellate courts said, let this play out. Then SCOTUS slid in like a repo man in the night. Instead of ruling on whether Trump's executive order was flat out unconstitutional, which it was, they sidestepped it and went for the technical foul. Universal injunctions go too far. God damn it. Basically, the court said that judges can't stop Trump's policies for everyone. Only the people who specifically sued. So now we're playing legal whack-a-mole across 50 states while Trump rushes to implement a policy that directly contradicts 150 years of law. So what's at stake, right? Everything. Let me break this down plain and simple. Trump's executive order says, if your parents weren't here legally, or maybe they were here legally, but temporarily, you don't deserve citizenship. Are you serious? The 14th Amendment that was passed after the Civil War to make sure that black folks were considered full human beings says, all persons born or naturalized in the United States are citizens. It don't say, except for immigrants. It don't say, only if your parents had papers. It says, all persons. A phrase so fucking inclusive, it slapped the face of Dred Scott and every slave master of the fucking Confederacy. So what Trump is really doing here is rewriting Reconstruction. The very laws meant to undo slavery. And the Supreme Court just handed him the pen. You thought Isengard was bad? You thought Voldemort was a problem? Justice Amy Coney Barrett, Trump's handpicked avatar, penned this majority opinion like it was a legal lullaby with principles of equity, she says, while politely gutting the power of federal courts to stop executive tyranny. And while they didn't officially cancel birthright citizenship yet, make no mistake, they laid the legal groundwork to allow Trump to do it himself. In the dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor, she tried to hold the line, calling out how this decision disregards the long history of protection for non-parties. But her voice is now a lonely alarm in a house full of arsonists. This ain't about immigration. This is about control. It's about telling people of color, especially black, brown, or immigrant babies, that their existence is conditional. That if you ain't got the generational wealth, land deeds, or ancestors off the Mayflower, you're permanently under review. Today is birthright citizenship. Tomorrow is voting rights. Affirmative action, gone. Housing, gone. Education, you got it, gone. When does it stop? In the MAGA cult, oh, they're going to keep smiling in your face, talking about this is what we voted for. This is what the founders wanted. Don't forget, y'all, the founders owned slaves. They're not playing. Trump told you on day one what he was coming for. And this court just gave him the green light to drive through your rights like a bulldozer in a graveyard. So don't wait on the Constitution to bleed before you speak up. Because if birthright citizenship can be reviewed, so can your freedom.
Our topic today is Black folks calling out SCOTUS for making birthright citizenship conditional and targeting their rights. When people think about citizenship in America, they often assume it's a guarantee, something you're born with, something protected by the Constitution. But once again, that assumption is being shaken. On June 27, 2025, the U.S. Supreme Court delivered a decision that didn't just rattle immigrant communities, it sent shockwaves through black communities across the country. By narrowing how lower courts can block harmful executive orders, the court essentially opened the door for birthright citizenship to become conditional, and black folks aren't staying quiet about it. Before we proceed, all credit goes to the creators of these videos. Let's watch a few more reactions and I'll come back with my final commentary.
They are not bringing back slavery with whips and plantations. They are bringing it back through paperwork, policy, executive orders, and silence. This isn't new. This is a recycled playbook, and it's already been written in blood. I once heard a Jewish woman tell the story of the night of broken glass, Crystal Nat. That was the moment when Nazis went out and shattered the windows of Jewish homes, schools, and businesses. Synagogues were set on fire. People were attacked in the street. And no one came to help. That was a turning point. Because when the Nazis saw that no one intervened, no neighbors, no allies, no other government, they knew they could take it further. That was the green light for the Holocaust. What started with broken glass ended in genocide. That same pattern is being used right here, right now. They tested it on immigrants, people with foreign names, people of color who could be quietly disappeared from schools, homes, hospitals, airports, people dragged from their lives and deported to countries they didn't even come from. No trials, no oversight, no justice, just unchecked power. And when no one came to stop it, they knew they could push further. Because the real target was never them. It was always us. Black people. Immigrants were the test subjects, the dress rehearsal. But the main act was always about revoking our rights, our citizenship, our existence. Birthright citizenship is next on the chopping block. And understand, the 14th Amendment wasn't created to serve immigrants. It was created to correct the crime of slavery, to finally recognize us, the descendants of the enslaved, as citizens, as humans. To undo that amendment is to undo black humanity. To erase us without having to say it outright. Because once you are not considered legal, they can lock you up, strip you down, put you to work, and no one will question it. It'll all be by the book. But that book is being rewritten daily. That's how you bring back slavery without ever saying the word. Now they're talking about reputable farmers taking responsibility for their workers. Excuse me? That's not employment. That's ownership. That's rebranding plantations in plain sight. They're even building camps again, facilities with no clear purpose, no oversight, and no timeline for release. Ask yourself, why do you need camps for citizens? That is not about safety. This is about power. And while all this is happening, while constitutional rights are being shredded and democracy hangs on by a thread, here comes Elon Musk, finally saying there's a big evil bill being passed that's going to take from the citizens and give to the rich. Really? You don't get to sound the alarm now. You helped build the machine. You gave Trump a platform. You amplified propaganda. You played a part in rigging the discourse and possibly the vote. Now, when it's convenient, you want to pretend to be neutral, a concerned bystander. No. You are complicit. You are part of the rot. You are not a savior. You are a silent partner. And let's be real. If you have the power to undo what's happening and you chose not to, then you're choosing the side of oppression. And when the reckoning comes, may it come for everyone responsible. Because Trump is not original. He's following the same strategy used by Hitler, Mussolini, Franco, Pinochet. Take away rights little by little, test your violence on smaller groups, silence the press, dismantle the courts, stack the judges, eliminate oversight. Then when it's time, go at the people you were really targeting all along. That's where we are now. So don't tell me I'm overreacting. Don't tell me it's just politics. Don't tell me to wait and see. I've seen enough. They are trying to enslave us again. And this time, it will look legal. It will sound lawful. It will come wrapped in national security and jobs and public safety. But it's slavery, nonetheless.
This isn't just a legal decision. It's a warning shot, the kind that makes historically marginalized groups look over their shoulders and ask, what right is next? Because for Black Americans, these moments feel far too familiar. A right that should be untouchable is now being picked apart by those in power. And when history repeats itself, they know who pays the price first. To understand the outrage, one must go back to the roots of the 14th Amendment. Adopted in 1868, it was a direct response to slavery and the Dred Scott decision, which infamously ruled that Black people could never be U.S. citizens. The 14th Amendment flipped the script, guaranteeing citizenship to all people born on U.S. soil, regardless of race or parentage. It was a legal cornerstone meant to protect newly freed Black people and ensure their place in the nation they helped build. Now, more than 150 years later, that foundation is being tested. The T's executive order, signed on day one of his return to office in January of 2025, attempts to strip citizenship from children born in the U.S. to undocumented immigrants. While lower courts tried to block it, the Supreme Court stepped in and ruled that those blocks couldn't apply nationwide, only to the specific plaintiffs involved. In other words, the federal courts can no longer protect everyone equally, and that's where the danger lies. Because what happens when protections only exist in certain zip codes, when your rights depend on the court in your state, or whether you have the money to file a suit? That's not equal protection under the law. That's patchwork of privilege. And Black folks have seen that patchwork before. During Jim Crow, during segregation, during every era where legal loopholes were used to deny them full citizenship. Justice Sonia sounded the alarm in her powerful dissent, warning that no right is safe under this new interpretation of judicial power. And she's right. Today, it's birthright citizenship. Tomorrow, it could be voting rights, reproductive freedom, or even protections from racial discrimination. Once one pillar of the Constitution is weakened, the rest start to wobble. For Black Americans, this ruling hits on multiple levels. It's not just about immigration, it's about erasure and how quickly rights can be redefined, repackaged, or revoked. Many Black families have roots that go back generations in America, often tied to the very labor that built it. Yet even with that history, there's always been a lingering question of belonging, or whether their place in America is permanent or conditional. And now, with this ruling, that question is no longer theoretical. It's especially troubling because Black immigrants, Haitians, Nigerians, Jamaicans, and others are also directly impacted by this order. The US-born children may now have to fight to prove what used to be automatic, and if this president holds, it won't stop with undocumented parents. Legal residents, asylum seekers, even people with temporary visas could see their children's status questioned. It's a slippery slope, and it's already getting steep. Beyond the legal jargon and court procedures, the truth is simple. This is about power. The power to decide who belongs, who is protected, and who gets left behind. And the Supreme Court just handed that power to the executive branch, unchecked and unbalanced. That's why Black voices are rising up to call this what it is: a targeted attack on vulnerable communities and a betrayal of constitutional promises. The court didn't outright strike down the 14th Amendment, but by limiting the ability of courts to enforce it broadly, they've effectively weakened its reach. It's like saying you will have a right, but only if you can afford to defend it in court. That's not justice, that's selective enforcement. And Black Americans know better than anyone that selective enforcement is how systemic oppression survives.
As most of you all who are not stupid and your mama doesn't dress you funny know, this administration is currently attacking the 14th Amendment's Birthright Citizenship Clause. And as you also know, on Friday, the Supreme Court handed the Trump administration a major victory when it said that lower court judges did not have the authority to impose injunctions against Trump administration executive orders. And while that Supreme Court decision in and of itself did not directly deal with birthright citizenship, it did expand Trump's executive powers by allowing him to institute executive orders without being challenged by lower courts until such time as they could be addressed by higher courts. During that time, a lot of harm could be committed. Now, the section of the 14th Amendment we are specifically dealing with when it comes to birthright citizenship is this section right here that says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and the states wherein they reside. And for those of y'all who need a quick history lesson, the 14th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States was ratified on July the 9th, 1868. And that is when the enslaved individuals who were just freed under the 13th Amendment to the Constitution of the United States were granted citizenship into this country. Now remember that. We're going to come back to it. Now today, 50 minutes before I made this video, a federal judge asked this administration for clarity on whether or not their birthright citizenship stance meant that they will be deporting babies born to parents in the United States. Yes, you heard me correctly. Even though the Supreme Court put a suspension on this executive order until the 26th of next month, this judge was asking for clarification on did that mean that they would be deporting babies born in the United States to undocumented immigrants or anyone of that matter that is not a citizen of this country, in violation of what the 14th Amendment states with no gray areas. None. There's no gray areas in all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States. There's no gray area there. And back to what happened today. Because when the judge asked this question, United States Department of Justice Representative Brad Rosenberg, she got the runarounds. She was told her question was just hypothetical because the order had been suspended until July the 26th. Now, you can pause and read this for yourself, but Rosenberg responded, "No, I just want to be clear. I'm responding to the court's characterization of what it believes the United States might do after 30 days from the date the Supreme Court's decision. But again, I would note that federal agencies have all been tasked with developing guidelines for implementation of the executive order. So I view that as a hypothetical." And this is the executive order in question, protecting the meaning and value of American citizenship, signed by Donald Trump on his first day in office. And in that executive order is the following line: "But the 14th Amendment has never been interpreted to extend citizenship universally to everyone, born within the United States. And the 14th Amendment says what? All persons born or naturalized in the United States are subject to the jurisdiction thereof. What's to interpret? And there are a lot of stupid people that are sitting out and saying this isn't our fight, even though the 14th Amendment is the only reason black people were granted citizenship in this country after their enslavement. Yeah, my question is for those stupid people, when this administration writes an executive order challenging the 13th Amendment, and I know stupid people are like, yeah, that won't happen. That'll never be challenged. It's the 13th Amendment, you know, neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except, Yeah, that won't happen, right? Yeah. Who thought that in 2025, an administration would be writing executive orders challenging the 14th Amendment? Yeah, let that sink in, especially you stupid people. May the ancestors judge you accordingly. Have the day you deserve.
This isn't just theory, it's already happening. Families are unsure whether their newborns will have social security numbers. Some fear deportation despite being born in the US. Others are left in limbo, unsure what will happen when they apply for a passport or register for school. And all of this uncertainty is by design, to discourage, to divide, and to control. But if history has taught us anything, it's that black communities don't sit back in silence. From civil rights to voting rights, they've been on the front lines of every major fight for justice in America. And now, they're calling on everyone to see this ruling for what it is. Not just an immigration issue, but a constitutional crisis. Because if the government can redefine citizenship for one group, it can and will do it to others. This moment demands solidarity, outrage, and action. It's not enough to assume that rights will protect themselves. They never have. They have always been fought for, bled for, and defended by those who knew what it meant to live without them. That's why black folks are speaking out, not just for themselves, but for every community that has been told their place in America is negotiable. The Supreme Court ruling may not have directly ended birthright citizenship, but it cracked the door. And if people don't push back now, the next blow could swing it wide open. That's the reality. And that's why the alarm bells are ringing loud, especially in communities that have lived through America's legal betrayals before.
Trump has officially blocked birthright citizenship.
We're cooked.
Trump said he wants it banned because hundreds of thousands of people are pouring into our country under birthright citizenship. And it wasn't meant for that reason. It was meant for the babies of slaves. The Supreme Court had a 6-3 ruling that this will take effect in 30 days. And lower courts tried to block it initially until the Supreme Court said this will not be blocked because I will allow it.
So we can amend the Constitution now?
Yeah! Judges and law professors are saying this allows Trump to rewrite federal law and takes power away from the U.S. citizens. Law professors then claimed a dictatorship is 100% taking place in America and said this is unconstitutional. And now the new birthright citizenship law says children who are born into the U.S. without at least one American parent or at least one green card holder will not be recognized as an American citizen. He finally took America back.
What about people who were born in America with non-American parents before the ruling was placed?
They're safe under the previous ruling, but now over 150,000 babies born in America will face the option of being deported, as they will not be recognized as American citizens. They should have just came here legally.
How are we gonna deport babies?
It's too late. Deport the babies. Sorry, babies.
So what do you all think? Should a president have the power to redefine who counts as American? Should your citizenship depend on where you're born or who your parents are? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to keep this discussion going. Otherwise, that's it from me. I also have another video about Miami Cubans calling out their own. And if you enjoy such kind of content, please click up here and enjoy. Also, consider subscribing, liking and sharing because it helps me grow my channel and helps YouTube recommend it to a wider audience. But for now, thank you so much for watching. And until the next time, the Joy Report out.